In one famous experiment, 65% of people were willing to administer potentially lethal electric shocks to strangers just because someone in a lab coat told them to. That's right. Two-thirds of people were ready to go full Emperor Palpatine on random folks they'd never met. In another experiment, regular college students turned into sadistic prison guards in less than a week. These weren't hardened criminals. They were just normal students who suddenly found themselves in roles they never expected. Imagine you're chilling in your dorm, eating ramen, and bam, you're tossed into a fake prison. Next thing you know, you're turning into a total monster. This isn't fiction. It's the Stanford Prison Experiment, conducted by Philip Zimbardo in 1971. He gathered college kids, divided them into guards and prisoners, and watched what happened. On day 1, it was all jokes. By day 2, it was a different story. The guards began power tripping, forcing prisoners to endure humiliations like peeing in buckets. One guard even got the nickname John Wayne for his cruelty. How did these average Joes morph into mini dictators? Turns out, when you mix uniforms with authority and a sprinkle of anonymity, things get out of control fast. Within 6 days, Zimbardo shut down the experiment. The guards and prisoners were left to wonder, was that really me? Spoiler, it was. This wasn't just some dusty old experiment from the 70s. This stuff happens today, and you might even be next. Ever notice someone go wild with a little bit of power? Think of the group project dictator or the hall monitor acting like the FBI. It's the Stanford experiment all over again, minus the fake prison cells. Now, about that shock experiment. Stanley Milgram, the mastermind, created a study that makes the Stanford prison experiment look like child's play. He told participants they were testing memory by playing teacher and zapping a learner each time they got a question wrong. Unbeknownst to them, the shocks weren't real, but the participants thought they were. The result? 65% of people cranked up the voltage to the max, 450 volts, even when they heard the learner screaming. How did this happen? People thought they were contributing to important science, and Milgram assured them he'd take responsibility. This created a sense of guilt-free zapping. Modern versions of this experiment show we're still inclined to obey authority. It's like our brains have a hidden obey button. But don't freak out just yet. Knowing about these experiments means you're less likely to fall for them. Now, when someone in authority asks you to do something questionable, you might think twice. You might be thinking, I'd never do that. But here's the kicker. We're all walking a fine line between hero and villain every day. That guy who cut you off in traffic? That could have been you on a bad day. The good news? Now that you know these mind tricks, you've got a superpower of sorts. Every time you stand up for what's right, resist the crowd, or question authority, you're fighting back against the forces that could turn you into something you're not. So, question everything. Stay woke, stay kind, and let's avoid becoming accidental monsters.